today's day, we have something really interesting lined up for you. You may have got some of the. I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, do we need to understand how technology works? And that's why it's an open-ended title. It's a title that, I mean, we really need to question ourselves every day with the amount of new things that are coming up every day. Do we really need to understand how technology works? I mean, at one hand, you have the simplicity of UI, wherein it's possible to be, wherein it's possible to have the power of technology at your fingertips without worrying too much about anything else. But at the same time, do you really need to understand what goes on behind the screen? So really what happens when to make all of this possible, like we're having a Zoom call today. How is it possible to happen? How is it possible to have everything happen? So to jump in, I want another question from you guys, and you can just think about it or leave a message in the chat box. How often do we use a washing machine? It's something that we cannot live without, right? It's something that we're using multiple times a day through different members of the family, and and today it's almost impossible to sort of imagine your life without a washing machine. I mean, I know in India we still have traditional ways of doing it, but really, what happens once you close the lid and switch on the cycle, like we call it? What happens behind the washing machine? So we can see it. I mean, there's water coming through, there's a motor, there's a drum, there are some clothes, there's some soap. Your clothes go round and round, there's a delicate wash, a lot of different modes and possibilities. But at the same time, I mean, we can see really what's happening. I mean, it's going round and round, and it's very easy for us to imagine. Now, what happens when it stops working? So when it stops working, I mean, all of you must have seen this, a booklet like this that comes with your washing machine. And, that shows all the parts. And it's very easy to imagine, okay, this part is missing, maybe something is wrong, call this person. Or just call the washing machine company for servicing. Or you might tell him, boss, this is what is not working, and come and fix my washing machine. But it's easy to imagine. Now, how many times a day do we use the phone or PC? We all have screen time over the last, say, 2 to 3 years. More and more of our work has shifted from the desktop to the phone, to the smartphone. And there may be a good 8 to 10 hours or even more that we spend on a PC or a phone every single day. But do we really know what happens behind the screen again? Do we know really what goes on, and how do these beautiful visuals get presented in front of us? What if we could understand what goes on behind the screen, just as we understand what to do when a washing machine stops working? That's my simple question. I mean, washing machine is also technology. Smartphones are also technology, but how can we have a better grasp or better understanding of what to do when something goes wrong with technology? And that brings me to the next question. What is code? Code is, you must have heard a lot of young guys saying, I'm doing coding. Or, I mean, for me, when I was in college, coding was this big monster that I could not even think about. I was mechanical engineer. I was doing mechanical engineering, but coding was something that really seemed difficult because I had no C++ or no programming experience. So even now, I'm sure all of you must be looking at your screen wondering why I don't want to do any sort of code. But code is what really makes it possible to build softwares, apps, websites. It's a way of communication. It's a way of communicating with hardware, with machines, to make things happen. And a simple example of code is print hello world. It's a command that you are giving the software to display the words hello world. Now, what are the building blocks of code? So I'm going to jump straight into it. I'm not going to go too much into detail of the code. We have a very exciting platform which will help us do this very intuitively almost. But building blocks of code or logic operators is what is really what builds code and what makes code happen. One of the key important operators is the if then else statement. Almost everything in our life is dependent on an if statement. It's dependent if the lockdown opens up on 14th April, then we'll do these things. If I get to go out today, then I'll be able to do this. Now, for a machine, it cannot understand if it's not hard coded. So if and else is something where we can put a predefined condition into a machine. If the switch is off, then there will be no electricity. I mean, I'm just giving simple examples, but that is a simple building block on which code has been built. Jumping straight into it, today we have Mohammed and Karan joining in Hong Kong. Um, they are a part of a company called BSD Education. They are very innovative company that goes by. I mean, BSD stands for Build Something Different. But today they're a Hong Kong-based company, and they're being able to teach technology or teach code or teach just anything as simple as making a website to making your own robots to artificial intelligent chatbots all over the world. So they have thousands of students that are logged into the BSD platform, which a lot of you got a chance to experience beforehand today. And through this platform, they're spreading code. I just have a simple um, quote that I found on their website, which their CEO, who's been supporting us quite strongly to take BSD into India, is not everyone will be a programmer, but everyone will work with technology. And I think that defines what we're trying to do today. We don't need to become a programmer, but we need to work with technology and really understand how technology works. With that, I want to hand over to Mohammed and Karan to take on and introduce us to what they're doing and what they're going to help us do over the next 15 days. A brief, I have been personally interacting with Mohammed over the last 2 years, and his journey is a fascinating journey. How an engineer has moved into the education space, an innovator in the education space, an entrepreneur, and really I would say that at the cutting edge of what the world is moving forward in terms of education. Over to you, Mohammed.
Cool. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to be here on the call. I see that there are about 74 people right now, so that's absolutely amazing. I'll keep it short. I'll just take about 2 minutes, and then I'll transfer it to my colleague, Karan. From my end, I just want to give a basic background about just generally the importance of technology and not stressing only on code. I think code obviously is quite important, and it's there behind the hood, as Yusuf mentioned, for all everything that we use, be it a mobile phone, be it Bluetooth headphones, be it the remote control for your TV or the AC. It's there everywhere. But what becomes more important is not everyone is going to be a coder. And that's what we stress on as a business also, is like we want everyone to be whatever they want to be. You be a lawyer, be a sportsman, be a doctor, be it an artist. And all of these fields right now have been impacted and transformed with technology. So the future that we are working towards, which has actually become more of a present now, is if as a doctor or as a lawyer, if you want to create the best solution for your field, you need to have obviously expert knowledge of your field, be it law, be it medicine, or be it sports. At the same time, you need to have some understanding of technology, so then you can create tools which are specific to your industry. What tends to happen even now is you have a lot of tech companies who may build tools in isolation. So you may have a tech company which builds tool for medicines without normally working very closely with doctors. And the reason why that tends to happen is many doctors may not completely understand the world of tech and isolate themselves from that. But if you want something which works really well for the end users, you yourself have to be knowledgeable about that. So the future that we're looking for is, can we have computer scientists and doctors work together? Can we have teachers and computer scientists work together? Can we have sportsmen and software developers work together? So we have tools which actually cater to the right audience. And you've got lawyers, doctors, artists, etc., who can communicate in terms of tech. And I think this group right here is an excellent example of that. Is I think very few of us come from a background in computer science or tech, but we do come from very different backgrounds, and it's because of tech and it's because of that curiosity and hunger to learn that we are here. And if it wasn't for these tech tools available, we wouldn't be here. The crux of that is irrespective of what you want to do, wherever, what part of your life or career you are in, understanding what goes under the hood and being able to communicate that from a technological context becomes a very, very important skill. So that's all from me. But as Yusuf said, I would love to also get to know you all. If you've got any questions ever or want to get in touch, I'm available. Yusuf and Aditya can share my WhatsApp or my email. I'm happy to have conversations with everyone, especially people who are still in school or university right now, or at the early stages of their career. I've been through that. I work with teachers and students in 14 different countries. So always trying to learn new things, but also share what I can. I'll pass it on to Karan now. So Karan's going to give you a quick tour about of our platform, as well as an introduction to some basic coding.
All right. Thank you, Mo. Good afternoon, everyone. Very nice to meet you all. It's wonderful to see a lot of people on this call this afternoon. Okay. So just continuing from where Yusuf stopped and where Mo stopped, a little bit of code, a little bit of technology. What we are going to do today is explore the BSD platform and be introduced to 3 coding languages, which are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, coding languages, the reason we use coding languages is that we are able to communicate with the computer to build something. Now, coding, why do we code? So we can actually build something. That's the reason we choose to learn coding. Now, we're going to be learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, you guys have heard of all different languages. You guys may have heard of Ruby, Python, Java. Each language has their own use, but today we're going to focus on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript because it's quite versatile and can be used for a wide variety of things. So for example, websites, apps, games. So what I want to do now is I am going to just share my screen first. One sec, is there a way for me? All right. Can everyone see my screen? Perfect. Okay. So what I've opened here is the NASA website. Now, why have I opened the NASA website? I mean, it's just any website actually, but the reason for me to show you guys the NASA website is to show you guys a little bit of the code that goes behind this website. So if I just actually right click and I click on inspect, you guys will see some code over here. This is actually the code that's used to create this website. Now, this is all the HTML and this is all the CSS. Now, the beautiful thing about inspect element is you can actually change some of the code and see it client facing as well. So for example, if I wanted to change the word missions over here. What I would do is I would use the select tool, go on to missions, and you can see in the code here, the word missions has been highlighted. And today, if I change that to, just change that to the word Wednesday, for example, you can see the word Wednesday actually changes on the website. So learning code doesn't mean that you have to know all the syntax to be able to do something. It comes from just being curious to kind of mess with things, learn something new. And that's how I started with HTML. So back in high school, didn't know anything about HTML, looked at some of these tools and slowly understood how these coding languages work. So I just want to re-emphasize the point that Mo made, that to be able to learn something new, you have to be very curious. So as long as you're curious, nothing is actually difficult. Now, HTML, as you can see, it basically helped me to change the text over here. Now, HTML as a language is for the structure and content of any page. So whether you're building a game, website, or an app, HTML will help you to change the structure or the content. Now, I mentioned another language, CSS. Now, CSS is the language that is used to make your page a lot more visually appealing, a lot more pretty. Now, for example, you see all the font sizes on the menu, they're all perfect. The logo, it's so perfectly resized. That's all done using CSS. Now, if I want to just change the color of the word Wednesday, what I would do here is in CSS, I would write the word color, and I can change that to red. And you can see on the website, it's actually been changed to red. Now, sometimes when I show this to students, all of them will be like, oh, that's hacking, that's hacking. That's not really hacking. It's just more of, getting used to the code. And the minute I refresh the page, everything comes back to normal. And inspect element is actually, when they're adjusting their spacing in between elements, they use the inspect tool to see how much space actually needs to be adjusted before they enter the final value into the code. So it's a great tool to actually start off with. And this is something I just wanted to introduce to you. So HTML being the structure and the content, CSS being the design of the page. I mentioned another language, which was JavaScript. JavaScript is basically the language which makes your pages or makes any of your web apps, mobile apps interactive. Now, for example, if you build a quiz, the logic that checks whether your answer is correct or not, that would all be done using JavaScript. When you're in a game and you have a choice whether to quit the game, yes or no, those choices and the action and the results of those choices are all done using JavaScript. So just like Yusuf mentioned, Yusuf was talking about the if statement. Now, the if statement is a very, very important statement in any programming language that you use. And JavaScript is no different. So that's the basic idea of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And now I'm going to take you on a tour into our online platform and show you some of the activities that we have for you today. So our online platform is called BST Online. And the URL of this is app.bst.education. I believe Yusuf has already pasted this into the chat. So to log in, you guys have your email address and you guys have been given a password. If your email addresses are linked to Google, so if you have a Gmail address or if you have a Hotmail or an Outlook address, you can choose to use your Google or your Microsoft login. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log in with Google. Just give it 1 second. And once you've logged in, you will see a page like this. So once everybody's logged in, they will be able to see a page like this. Now, when you log in, to make sure that you have access to all the material that we've given to you today, just make sure that you're able to see the Enterprise India as soon as you log in. Now, if you're not able to see the Enterprise India, please get in touch with one of us and we'll help to make sure that you have the access to the material. Now, as soon as you log in, you will see something called your classrooms. Now, all of you here have been put into a virtual classroom where we have assigned projects for you guys to actually try out. Now, to check out what projects are available, I'm going to click this plus sign. So we've got about 7 projects that we've added in here, and I'll talk to you a little bit about these projects. So the first project being the eye chart. It's a simple HTML and CSS project used to create an eye chart. So when you go to the eye doctor, the thing that they ask you to read, that's something you'll be building using HTML and CSS. The next thing is an online poster. So if you're advertising anything, you're running a new campaign, you can definitely use a poster. The exercise of patterns with nested div elements teaches you how to put elements inside each other in HTML. So for example, on a website, you would have a block, and inside that block, you would have another block of some information, and then another block. So that's how you would understand how to add different blocks using this project. My first website is a one-page website about you. So it can be about your favorite animal, your favorite hobby. So just a website about you. So if any one of you have ever dreamt of doing your website and been thinking, okay, I really want to make my own website, this is a great place to start, right? So if you do this project, you can actually have your website up and running. Now, the next 2 projects here, you see the JavaScript conversation and the digital assistant. The goal of these 2 projects is basically to build a chatbot. Now, how many of you kind of do delivery from Swiggy sometimes, right? So with Swiggy, you order food, and then if you have a problem and you go on their site, sometimes there's a message that says, "Hi there, how may I help you?" You have all these automated chat systems. Now, these 2 projects actually teach you how to make these automated chatbots, right? So if you're ever thinking of your own company website and you want to integrate your own chat platform, you can actually build one right here and then link it to your website. And you can automate and code all the various responses. So for example, if the customer says hello, you can say, "Hello, how are you today?" Right? So there's a bunch of things that can be done with these 2 projects. And finally, the trivia game is basically a quiz game. So if any of you fond of watching quiz shows, I mean, in India, when we've grown up, we've always grown up watching quiz shows. It's time to make your very own quiz game in this project. So the projects up till my first website would just be HTML and CSS. And then the last 3 projects would involve HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all together. Now, I'm going to show you how one of the projects actually work, and the way all the projects will work the same way. So I'm just going to start the eye chart. Now, the very first step of any project is always showing you a sample of what you're going to build, right? Because that's the idea. You need to be able to see the end goal and be able to see the end idea of why you're working on this project, right? So this is the eye chart that you will be building when you do this project. On your left, you will have some instructions and some information. So basically says in this project, we will learn how to use HTML and CSS to create our very own eye chart. And an eye chart is used to test your vision when you visit an optometrist or an eye doctor. And we move on to the next step. Now, to start, let's add our first letter using an H1. This row will contain the largest letter. Now, required syntax is the code that you need to use to add it inside here. These are all your instructions. In the center is your code panel, and on the right is your output panel. Now, if I need to add an H1 with the letter E, and I don't know how to do an H1, I can just click on these links. So when I click on these links, it opens up these interactive cards. Now, these are called glossary cards. And the reason for this is we want to make sure that students and anyone doing these projects are not forced to actually memorize the syntax. Because one thing with programming, and one thing why a lot of students find programming very challenging, is it's very difficult to actually memorize syntax. Now, those of you doing engineering, computer engineering, or those of you who've done it before, know some of the syntax you have to memorize for the exams. And it's not very, very easy to do that. And so that's the reason we've actually placed these glossary cards where you can actually look at the syntax and apply them in your own way. So over here, I can see, okay, I know how to do an H1. So I'm going to copy this to the clipboard and I'm going to paste it right here. And if I want to make my font size bigger so all of you can see, I just go into the settings, customize, and just make that a little bit bigger, right? So I can see what I've written now. If I want to move on to the next step, I click on check objectives, and it tells me in the H1 element, text content heading 1 is incorrect. Try E. So this is the process of actually debugging. Now, when you code, there are bound to be some errors, and that's okay. Making mistakes is absolutely fine. But the idea is, okay, how do we go about removing these errors? How do we go about fixing these errors and moving on to what we actually need to build? So if I just read this error message, it says, okay, the heading 1 is incorrect. Try the letter E. So what I then do is I write the letter E, and then I check objectives, and you can see this has become green. So which means I have passed this objective, and I'm ready to move to the next step. Now, your HTML and CSS are in two separate tabs. So the tabs where you'll have to write CSS code, it will automatically switch to the CSS. Your output is here. Your progress through the project will be auto-saved. So as you move to the next step, your progress will be auto-saved. For any of you who are coders and prefer a dark theme, so if you go into settings and customize, you can change this to dark. So really up to you which color theme you prefer to use. And again, if you wanted to auto refresh, so instead of you write something and it auto refreshes, anyone of you ever used things like CodePen before and you see the output auto refreshing, that feature can be enabled here as well. If you have any feedback, there is a feedback button right here. So please do write in any comments that you may have on any of the steps. So that's the idea of these projects. I hope you guys enjoy doing them. And again, if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at any time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Karan, for that wonderful introduction to the platform. Guys, the idea is that, like everything we've done with the Explorathon, is that we give a small snippet of what's possible, and it's really up to us to take it further. Karan has given a brilliant example and a brilliant way of understanding the layout of how BSD works. It's very, you might find yourself stuck for the first half an hour, but and we're there to help you. But if you find yourself stuck, it's okay. You will soon discover it, and once you discover it, things will really move faster. The idea is that once you get once you get used to the platform, you can basically do a number of courses. So they have about a lot of projects that are inbuilt. We've only shown you 10 as of now. You can go as far as designing your own autonomous car, and the platform will have all the help that you need to do. But what you need to do is, you're in a classroom now, you're in a virtual classroom, you have access to the virtual classroom for about an hour, a month, sorry. Every day, if you spend an hour with the platform, I'm sure you'll be able to enhance your skills, understand the basics, and do much more. And with that, I'm sure all of you all have a lot of questions now. So we're going to break you into your breakout zones. The formal part of the session is now over. We're moving into the post
I just
session.
want to add one thing.
Yes, please.
I want to add this because I see, a lot of faces with this question on their mind. I'm a face reader and I can see many people are asking that, why do I need to learn coding? And although you and Mohammed and Karan have so beautifully said that, um, I just think that these technologies that we are using, even this Zoom, for example, so many of us are using Zoom so intensely now. But most of these technologies have existed for the last 10, 15 years, including Instagram, Facebook, Zoom, websites. It's all a question of timing. Today, I think the world is at a point of time when all our minds are open and we are ready to adapt and pick up something new that even a year back, our mind said, no, I don't need it. So I would want to suggest to everyone that, let's keep a little open mind. Coding is really a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking a little bit more structured. BSD has a fantastic vision to make everyone technology friendly. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity that all of us have to play around. And with the idea of Explorathon is explore. So please take some time and just, whether you are my mom, who I can see on her face, it's written that, okay, what am I going to do with all this? And she's smiling right now. Or whether you are someone who's, young like me, but yet not done too much of technology, go for it. Dabble in it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So sorry, I had to get a little airtime in, so I did that. Back to you, Yusuf.
Right. I mean, like Adi said, a lot of y'all must be questioning. I mean, I'm not going to make the coolest website. The purpose is to understand how a website is made. You might not make your website on that thing, but you'll understand how to, and when you're speaking to a developer, a coder, it'll be that much more easier for you. So now's the fun time, and from the feedback that we've got, we've understood that the breakout rooms are the times when you'll have the most fun. So we're going to break you into the breakout rooms. What before that, I just want to share what's your project for the day.
Those
So
who
for the
don't,
day,
those who don't want to be a part of the breakout room, you could leave now. We'll see you tomorrow once again at 11:50 for another interesting session. Those who are staying back, please take it
but
from here.
even those who are leaving, the project for the day is to complete the iChat project on BSD, complete the online poster project, these two projects, go on and complete one course every day, 1 month free access to many projects. N2 Cutlets can complete it all. Those of you who are N2 Cutlets, I can see a lot of people. Tanisha is saying it's going to be her Netflix for the month. If you all really complete all the tasks, we have the capacity to create another classroom and add some more projects at a faster pace. So for those of you who finish your projects, you all will get access to more projects.
And while you all were gone, Karan and Mohammed from BSD, they were sharing something so interesting with us. They were telling us about the most common fear that they find when people are confronted with technology. And Karan said that, one, it's unknown. It seems like something that we've never encountered before, all these mumbo jumbo words. And secondly, it seems difficult. And suddenly it occurred to us that, my God, that's such a potent combination, right? Something that is unknown and something that looks difficult. Whether it's code or whether it's a person or whether it's a relationship or whether it's a life situation like the one that we are in right now with the lockdown. So we have a little challenge for all you brave souls who stayed on. Uh, let's get some of the oldies of the group who might be struggling with this. Uh, you know, how about we put out on the Facebook community, if anyone wants to work together this evening, you can create some time slots. 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Create some time slots and put out a call to people that if anyone needs some help, here's a time slot and I'll be available on this Zoom link, and people can reply to you. And let this really be a community. It doesn't have to be always led by a few of us. Any of us can take lead. So here's my challenge to all of us. Can you rope in a few more people this evening and have like a little Zoom session with a few more people and help them, support them to overcome this fear of the unknown and the so-called difficult? How many of you say challenge accepted? Give me a thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see a
I
few
am
hands
I'm
going
shaking
up.
everywhere.
Fantastic. It'll be really cool. Yusuf?
Yeah, so we'll, I think, help them organize through the Facebook group. We can just have some code parties for the evening,
I like that.
hosted by a few of them. And yeah, so guys, for those of you who must have wondered what the hell was going on in the breakout rooms and still finding difficulties, we've recorded, two of our team members have recorded 3 of the projects completely and have uploaded them on the group for you to go through in detail. So it's in detail. It's 20 minutes, and you have Sayyam and Vishal's phone numbers. They are the ones who've uploaded them. Feel free to call them any time of the day and ask them their doubts. It will take some time to get used to the platform, but I promise that once you get used to the platform, you'll want to do more and more projects. It's very simple. It's very easy. You don't need to understand everything that's going on, but you just need to make sure that you're completing those objectives.
Yeah. And remember, here's our challenge to all the Gen Z and millennials out there. Can you catch at least 2 boomers and help them out, help them to break their fear of technology today? Break 2 boomers' fear, right? I can see all the Gen Z smiling just because I'm saying boomer. So,
Adi, define boomer.
all right.
So we'll ask the Gen Zs to hold even if you hold a code party within your household, get everybody on the laptop for half an hour and tell them for once, listen to what I'm saying and make them do this. It will be fantastic. You can also help on the Facebook group. Code party to build something different.
Feel free to put out a time slot on the Facebook group when you can be available.
Yeah, I would love to see Dhruv, Rohan, Dhruv Gupta, Tanay Agarwal, Mrunmay, Rahul Devkar, Lubaina, Vishal, Aditya, Shrey, Nirmal, Prathamesh take lead. There are much more people, but I just saw these ones straight away.
All right. So thanks
Thank you, guys.
Mohammed and Karan, for being with us today, for sharing your time and for sharing your portal with this community for the next 30 days. We're going to do our best to really kind of break that fear that all of us have.
Yep. Thank you, Aditya. I just wanted to say that it's been absolutely lovely to speak to all of you this afternoon. If you guys need absolutely any help, please reach out and we'll be more than happy to support you guys.
Adi, I just want to say one quick thing. Okay, can I?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I really want to appreciate Karan and Mo for this platform that they have made. And what I found like really interesting and really encouraging was how within the codes they've added like when I looked at the website when we were doing the breakout rooms, there were colors within the different like div and h1 and everything, like that sort of soothes you to eases you into the process of making a website. Like me personally, we were talking about this in the breakout room as well, that I find coding very overwhelming and very scary. Seeing all the colors right there, like the right brain and the left brain theory, right? The right brain is the one which includes the colors, and so you have sort of combined both the brains together, and it's beautiful. Like I found that as a touch of genius, honestly. So thank you so much for introducing us to BSD and giving us this platform. And I'm sure I'm gonna like all of us, in fact, are gonna come out as coders after this 1 month.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, and really glad to hear that you've had a great experience. Please continue using it, and as Karan also said, feel free to reach out to us, and you can also reach out to us through Aditya and Yusuf. Happy to help. All right. Have a good day ahead then. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. And look forward to hearing all the updates from the code parties today.